Hello, the internet. Welcome back to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch. We are your hosts, Gabriel and Brandon. Today, we're here to discuss pivotal, most important series of the year, as we've been saying for the last month or so, against the San Francisco Giants. This was probably one of, if not the most pivotal, three-game set of the series so far, of the season so far, in which the Diamondbacks were able to take the series from the Giants and secure at least for the moment, a tiebreaker with the San Francisco Giants. But I want to welcome everyone in here who's in the chat, who is joining us after the fact on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you may be listening to us. Make sure to rate and review. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. If you are on Twitter, on TikTok, and Instagram, we are everywhere at Dbacks Dispatch. The Discord link will be in this description. It's also on our Twitter. Be sure to join us because it's always popping in there, especially on game day. We have different categories in there that you can, or rooms. Is that what they call them? Chat rooms. I don't know. I don't know what the name is. That you can
Channels.
hop into and check out as well. And you can also see our written articles on AZ Snake Pits. Now, Brandon, I guess before I break everything down, how are you feeling today, especially with the two wins from the Mets? Is it over, or do the D-backs still have some hope?
I've said it all year. Until they are mathematically eliminated, I'm gonna have hope. I think making up, because now we're 2 games back of the Mets. I think that is very doable over 9 games, especially the way we've been playing. Now our schedule is not doing us any favors. I do not think that it is, as we like to say, Jover. I think I think our chances is pretty much what it's been since August 1st. Like, we knew this was going to be a challenge. Um, and I just think right now, just focus on winning against the teams you're playing. Because if you lose, there's no, like, it doesn't matter what the Mets or the Reds or the Giants do. You're losing ground. So just focus on winning each series or a sweep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess to a certain extent that's how I am, but I think this is probably the most pessimistic that I've been all season long when it comes to the chance. I know in our group chat I say Joe, but I'm like I was saying it was Joe since the first time they lost. Like it's just kind of a running meme at this point. Kind of like the fan overreaction. Just any loss is the biggest loss of the season, but in this case, it really did feel like that yesterday. I mean, we were supposed to do the podcast yesterday, but I was like, I am too pissed off right now to even want to talk about it. But I wanted to wait to see how the Padres and Mets series ended up because what we could have said yesterday completely changes today, especially with these two wins from the Mets. The Mets are now 2 games over the Diamondbacks with 9 games left to go. They have a relatively easy schedule coming up, and the Diamondbacks are facing the Phillies, the Dodgers, and then the Padres. So the Mets, they've been on a very slow collapse since August, and I think if the Diamondbacks were 10 games out of the wild card and the Mets were damn near 20 games over 500. If you would have said, "Yeah, I still believe the Diamondbacks are going to sneak into that wild card or the Mets," I would have called you a liar at the time, and I would still call you a liar to say that that's always what you thought would happen, just because of the fact that the Mets were on pace to win 90 plus games, and they were the last wild card. And now we see just how monumental the collapse has been, and if this continues, and if the Diamondbacks do sneak in there or the Reds sneak in there, the Mets are in danger of becoming probably the greatest collapse of all time in terms of teams with playoff aspirations. Like I know there's a lot of talk of, I believe it was them also who collapsed in 21 or 22. They they had the division
Yes.
lead for they had 10 games lead right over the Braves, I
Yes.
believe.
Braves, yeah.
So in that case, that was a division. They still, I believe, they still made the playoffs, but in this case, missing the playoffs entirely, especially after they spent the money on Peter Alonso, they spent the money on Juan Soto. They are
Well,
on
it's
the
only
verge.
a 1-year deal for Alonzo.
Alonso,
So
but
it's
still, it's still money that they spent that they otherwise wouldn't have or didn't.
Mets actually did not make it that year.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is in competition for the Mets 3 years ago. But again, like this is a wild card. They've been a wild card this whole time, but for the amount of money they spent on Juan Soto, everyone else that they got for reinforcement, the bullpen acquisitions, this will be, I think, one of the greatest collapses of all time if the Mets don't make it. So the pressure is on them. I mean, the Diamondbacks have some pressure as well, but again, this is 2 games and nine games. It starts to feel, you start to feel it, on your neck a little bit more than usual. At least for me, like I said, I just think this is probably the most pessimistic that I've been towards their playoff chances because
You've been pretty pessimistic like most of the second half, and I've been like in the chat. I'm like, wow, this man's been burned by Arizona sports so much.
my whole life I've been watching the
Like
Suns collapse.
I
I have
can
been
feel it.
watching
I
the
can feel it
Cardinals
for you.
collapse. I have been through
Yeah.
all the iterations of the Diamondbacks. I've been through the highs, so the 2001 series, to the absolute lows that were the baby backs in the mid 2000s and then the 2010s. And I have been here since forever, unfortunately. And just watching even the Suns as well, 2 game lead in the finals, absolutely collapse. It's hard to have real hope for Arizona sports because it just feels like, yeah, at some point something's going to go wrong. And right now, I mean, the Diamondbacks have been playing good baseball for the most part, but I think this was a series that they needed to sweep in order to be able to take this division take this wild card series, and they just were not able to do that. And with the Padres absolutely collapsing, which by the way we will talk about that a little bit later, the Padres might even be
No, they're not.
the
It's
hey,
6 games. There's
they have
no
three games.
like
They have 3 games against each other. They're playing 3 games against Milwaukee. I'm just saying.
that would be that would be a worse collapse in my opinion than what the Mets did because that was over like a month. To blow 6 games in a week, like that's a ooh, ooh,
I
that's
mean, that's what the
that's
Diamondbacks
bad.
did last year. Damn near what the Diamondbacks did last year. 3 games, 3 game lead in 7 games. So, but I want to thank everybody who's coming in here. Scott, Disruptive. Let's see.
Red
Red Sox
Sox
Nation
Nation.
is here as well. Corbin Barrows, where you at? But yeah, it's just we're gonna break it down, but yeah, I think this was just kind of our thoughts overall on how we feel after this. Like, I mean, I do agree until that until there's an E, for eliminator or zero for the Mets, and until they clinch, like it's not over. And again, like when I mentioned with baseball, baseball is the only real sport where you play until the last out is made. There is no shot clock. There is no clock that tells you when the game is over and when it isn't. You have to
Time
make
limit.
all the outs. So
You don't have a
we've
time
seen
limit.
this team come back, 5 runs with 2 outs in the ninth inning. We've seen this team collapse with 2 outs in the ninth inning as well. So, you know, you play until the last out is made, and that's what the Diamondbacks have to do, and that's what the way they have to take it every single day is just try to take it day by day and maybe not focus so much on the Mets. Like the Mets are in front of them, but just play good baseball. Don't focus so much on what's ahead of you. Play your game the right way, and you might be able to back into a playoff spot. But unfortunately, sometimes life isn't fair, and you can do everything right. You can win out these next 9 games, but if the Mets go 6-3 or whatever combination of that, they still might end up ahead of you, anyways. But um, so for game one, this was an absolute just destruction by Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen continues to impress. Um, so the way you have it written down here is in Gallen, since no team met the Diamondbacks asking price. And by asking price, I think you just mean since nobody asked for Zach Gallen at the deadline, I think should be
No,
a more accurate
so
statement.
Hazen was on Arizona Sports yesterday, and I heard part of it. Basically, the offer was so low, like it wasn't even worth the trade.
Yeah, it's
So
probably
there were offers. It just it would have been, and the fact is, we needed starting pitching. Like, can you imagine? Like this this organization has no depth in starting pitching. So
Yeah.
unless it was something that could improve this term in the current term and the long term, yeah, he's
Yeah,
not.
and something that we talked about at the deadline as well is like if we can get at least one or two guys who are major league ready, especially like in starting pitching department, like if Zach Allen went, but they were able to get, even a guy who not the greatest, but who could throw innings.
It was
It
probably
doesn't even
like
seem it
a
was even
team that
that.
was, yeah, it's probably like a single A or a high A pick. Like you are not gonna make that trade for Zach Gallen, and right now Hazen's looking pretty smart, but Gallen did that to himself. Like he just pitched so poorly. Like he was literally had no
Yeah,
value. It wasn't low value. It was literally non-existent.
yeah. I mean, we joked about it at the time, but we were like, did they offer just like a bag of chips for Zach Gallen, and then, a sub from Hungry Hill or whatever that place is called, like
Hungry
There
Howie's.
Hungry Howie's, Hungry Hill, whatever it's called, the one that chased. Like, there's no way there was an actual real offer for Zach Gallen on the table that was even worth the trade. But he's continued to impress. He went 6 innings, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and he lowers his season ERA to 4.73. Again, it is high, but considering the fact that it was almost a six at the deadline, the fact that he's been able to lower it as much as he can, and especially the whip is at 1.25. That's a very respectable whip. But Zach Gallen, no matter how you break it down, has just been incredible. You have it here since the deadline: 53 and two-thirds innings pitched, 2.68 ERA, 1.01 WHIP, uh, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, and 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and 200 opponent batting average. That's Cy Young candidate worthy from Zach Gallen, and it hasn't been a small sample size like we've been saying. This is now about 10 games or so. He'll have one more opportunity, so we saw him potentially just getting a 1 year deal for 15 million or something, like maybe taking a qualifying offer. But with how good he's been in the second half, he might not even take the qualifying offer. Like there might be an actual team that will be willing to spend on him because it is a complete night and day difference between the first half and the second half. So this season, in general, he has pitched, let's see, 31 games. So if you split that in half, his last 15 games, he has a 3.84 ERA. That's a very good ERA. That's not the best, obviously, but that's a very, very good ERA. We've seen pitchers get huge contracts for having close to that. And he has 89 innings, so he's been going deep. He's been averaging about 6 innings per game, 3.84 ERA, 77 strikeouts. But the most important thing is the whip, 1.10 whip. So for the
That
second half of the season, he has been one of the best pitchers in the league. He has been basically vintage Zach Gallen. Obviously, the ERA doesn't tell the whole story, but that's why a lot of teams don't fully rely on ERA because, again, Zach Gallen comes out 7 innings, 7 and 2/3 of an inning, leaves the guy on first. If they hit a home run, that run counts against his ERA. But the whip, I think, tells most of the story, that 1.10. So he has been keeping guys off the bases. He has been striking out guys. He hasn't allowed too many hits. So Zach Gallen might end up getting a pretty sizable contract this season. But and also in this game, Carroll reached his 30th double of the season. So he is just putting away. He is one stolen base away from the 30-30-30 season. And it's also 30-30-30-20 if he gets a couple more triples as well. So you're talking about unprecedented territory. I believe the last guy to have any similar numbers was Jimmy Rollins in 2007, who won the MVP, which shouldn't have won the MVP, by the way. But I digress. But what were your thoughts on this game overall? What were your thoughts on Zach Gallen? Do you agree with me that he's probably no longer going to take that qualifying offer, or do you even think that Diamondbacks might even give him an actual a contract this offseason?
So I was at this game and I thought he looked simply amazing. Like James McCann, like we need to re-sign James McCann. If they plan on bringing Zach back, they need to re-sign James McCann, and he needs to be his designated catcher because what he's been able to just like he literally fixed them because it like these last 15 games is really when James McCann got here, and his ability to call games for Zach is simply like it saved his career because he was heading in a direction that I don't even know if he would be able to get a qualifying offer. Now, maybe 3 years, 100. Like that's kind of where I would be comfortable with Zach, especially if we get this second half Zach, because we're gonna need him because we're still gonna be without Corbin Burns till probably August at the earliest. So we need that ace. Yes, I get we have Ryan Nelson, which is great, but in this division, you need 2 or 3 studs in the rotation. When you have 13, 14 games against the Padres, the Giants, and the Dodgers, you need 2 or 3 studs there. So I, it's so weird to come around because I was always like, nah, I am done with Zach Gallen. We need to move on. He's just not it. I think I changed my tune a little bit on that because he's pitching like a guy that should get paid. So I'm curious, does he does Scott Boras do with him what he did with Pete Alonso? Like go for like a 2 year deal with it's really like a 1 year deal with a player option for that second year. Like does he do that or because of how well Zach has pitched the last 60 days, can he get a 3 or 4 year deal? I don't think he gets anything more than that. I think trying to get a 5 year deal is going to get you laughed out of the room. And I think the Diamondbacks probably would be the only team that would give him a 3 year deal. I think anyone else, it's a 2 year deal, most likely. But he has looked so good lately. And it's what we talked about at the beginning of the year and numerous times fastball command.
Yeah.
Once that fastball command, if he can have that under control, his other stuff, his changeup works so good. His curveball works really good. Now, his one blemish in this outing was a homer, which has been an issue all year. But he's really limited it since August 1st. So, but like it was, we were, we were making a joke. Who gets the 30 homers first, Corbin Carroll or Zach Gallen? Like it was, because there was a time where it looked like it might be Zach Gallen. So I'm glad that Gallen was able to figure it out. But man, he's been just dominant lately, which is what this team needed because we didn't really have like he was being terrible. Erod was awful. Fought if it's a road start is just abysmal. So I really wanted Carroll to get that 2020 season. I just I think he needs what 3 more triples, and that seems like a lot in the span of 10 days.
Yeah,
Because
especially
I
who they're
think
playing against. I mean, they're
because he got
playing.
17 yesterday on Wednesday. I think that was
Yeah,
either 17 or 18, which we'll get into that one. Yeah. So, but no,
yeah,
good job there from Gallen. Like we're gonna need this. Um, I think he's gonna have 2 more starts. Like he's starting in the Philly series.
yeah.
He's
So
and
yeah, I can discuss it now. Sorry. There was some news that came out. First one, Sclafani DFA'd, and the other one was that the rotation was going to be shortened to 4, and Chris Matt was going to be put in the bullpen, which I think is going to help the bullpen a lot. It does suck for Chris Matt, but sometimes just kind of the way it is. You want to be able to get enough chances for Brian, for Zach specifically as well, and Brandon Fott. Get him a couple of other home starts, like we saw what he did yesterday, which we'll get to soon enough. But when you have your best pitchers, pitching the way they do, especially at home, these next few series, you give yourself a chance to win every single day. But you can keep going for what you were saying.
yeah. So what they did with this 4 man rotation is they're lining it up where if they do make the wild card, Zach starts that first wild card game. Like that's how they have it lined up. Because his last start would be the Wednesday or Thursday, like of that final, because he pitches against the Phillies on Saturday. So then basically his final start would be
It'd be
probably that.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh no, they don't play Monday, so it'd be Thursday.
yeah. So then he'd be
Thursday against LA.
slated, and then if we do make that wild card round, game one is that following Tuesday. So he'd be slated. That'd be his start. So again, a lot needs to happen for us to get there, but like you need to plan it this far out. Like you really do, so that because we don't like. Do we want him to pitch that Saturday game against the Padres, and then who do you go with in game? Like, I know it's like one of those things like you're saving someone for something in the future, but I'm like, you have to get there first. Like it's this whole thing where like we always like, why did you not bring this guy in for the eighth or the ninth? Oh, I'm saving him for extras, but you're behind. I'm like, but you need to tie the game to
Yeah.
get there. So,
Yeah, I'm kind
um,
of iffy on how I feel about this. Like, I could see their point of view, but I can also see another point of view, like you're saying. The fact that they might be saving Cy Gallen for nothing. Like, they could be, like, putting, especially Chris mad with how good he's been. Um, you could just be shorting up guys, shorting up this
I think they're
lineup.
doing it this way because there's a lot of off days, so it kind of works out
Yeah,
where you can go with four guys because I think there's an off day, like you
there's
said, there
today and then
month,
Monday.
so it works that way. They play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they end the season Friday, Saturday, Sunday in San Diego.
And then some Monday off day, and then they'll play again. But just quickly, Red Sox Nation, I want to ask, like, how do you feel about the Red Sox right now? Because the Guardians are just a game and a half behind, and the Red Sox are just bleeding games right now. But I want to mention the Red Sox specifically because I feel like that's a destination for Zach Gallen to go to because they do need pitching. They went out and spent some money on some starting pitching this season. One of which was Walker Buehler, who the Diamondbacks, I believe they were going to face, but I believe he was not going to go for them against the Diamondbacks this coming series. Like, I think he was supposed to be slated for tomorrow. They switched him out for Walker, so it seems like maybe the Phillies are also shorting up
The
their
AL
starting.
wild card is close between all three. Like it's really interesting. Like you have the Yankees who have a 3 game lead on Houston. Then Houston, Seattle, and Boston are all within like 1 game of each other. And then Cleveland's, like you said, 1.5 back. So
Yeah, so
um
it's
is
not
this
over.
about is this about Red Sox signing Zach Gallen? Is that what you're laughing at, or is it more about the Guardians?
I think it was when she was talking about their schedule because they got Tampa and a few other really good games. I mean, the Diamondbacks as well. They have some really hard opponents coming up. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight Zach Gallen, just absolute stud these last few weeks or last couple of months or so. I do think he's going to earn himself a pretty decent contract. Obviously, it's not going to be the 200 plus million that we were predicting him to
No.
get. But I do want to point out the fact that he's 12-14. That's crazy. Like,
It
that
blows my
means
mind.
that he's either winning the games or losing the games, which sounds like a stupid, obvious statement. But in this day and age, the way baseball works, most of these guys go home with no decision. I mean, look at Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson basically has no decisions for 8 games this season. Like, this guy should be, closer to 20 wins, but instead he has like 7 or so. But it shows that Zach Allen, even despite the struggles, has gone deep enough into games where he is the deciding factor in these games where he either wins the games or he loses the game. So that's 26 out of his 31 starts have been decided by Zach Gallen. So interesting enough to see that. Like, 14 losses is huge. But again, I think most teams would be willing to take a chance on him again, like with the way he's been pitching and the fact that he's been able to go deep enough into games consistently throughout his career that he is ultimately the deciding factor for the way things go. But in this game, the Diamondbacks did absolutely clobber the Giants. They won 8-1 off of the backs of the guys that we mostly mentioned should be uh, deciding these games. Jorge Perdomo was 3 for 3, 2 RBI, 2 walks. Well, we can get to it as well. But Ketel Marte just has been absolutely abysmal for the last month and a half. And Corbin was able to get a hit and just 2 strikeouts. And then again, the 4 through 7 guys were able to come in clutch and put some runs in. And in this game, Jordan Lawler just missed a home run. He was inches away from getting his first career home run, but he still got a double, still got an RBI. And then Rashi and then Beeks came in to seal the deal and put the Giants away, at least for the first game. And we've mentioned so many times, you can't sweep a team if you don't win the first game. So set them up for the second game, in which the way this game started. I went to this game. I believe you went to this game. It felt right away like, ah, damn it, like this is it. This is the game we lose because of the way Erod was pitching. He gave up 4 runs almost instantly, just giving up way too much hard contact in the second game. And honestly, the line that he ended up with wasn't terrible. I felt like he
Yeah,
could have gone out again.
after yeah, like the first two innings, I was like, oh
Yeah,
come
he had
on.
almost
I'm like,
40 plus pitches in those first couple of
yeah.
innings, and he ended the day with 83 pitches. I felt like he probably could have gone out again. Obviously, you know, he did give a couple of hard outs in that fifth inning, so I can see why he was taken out. But he honestly probably could have gotten another one. We mentioned it before with someone like Erod. If he goes 6 innings, 7 innings, he gives up 4 or 5 runs, we'll take that because it still gives his team a chance to win. If he does that when he comes out in this game, he went 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs. His ERA did go back up to 5.12. He was 4.98, I believe, before this game started. But that wasn't the main talking point of this game. His main thing was one, their issues with runners in scoring position, and the hero of the day, Jordan Lawler, who came in to pinch hits late in the game and then was able to get the job done in the ninth inning. But I just want to talk about the runners in scoring position because it wasn't just this game; it was a game after that. They were 5 for 17 in this game, 0 for 8 yesterday, so that's 5 for 25. That's a 200 batting average of runners in scoring position that they really struggled with. These are 2 games that could have gone out of the way. This was a 50-50 game, and the next game after was also a 50-50 game, and they split it 50-50. But what were your thoughts in game two? How'd you feel going in, just in that first inning? Then as the game progressed, staying tied, the fact that the bullpen was able to shut them down for about 4 innings. How'd you feel watching this? Were you nervous? Did you feel like it was Jover at certain points of this game? How'd you feel about Jordan Lawler as well?
I want to give a shout out to the bullpen. The bullpen was the reason we were able to win this game. The fact they went 4 innings, no hits. Now they only struck out once, so that's kind of like that kind of worries me. But Curtis went 1 2/3. Garcia got one out there. Thompson and then Frank. Um, so everyone pitched really really good. I know we were against in the Twin Series. We're like, why isn't Frank pitching? Well, we found out he has a shoulder injury. So they're which I was trying to talk to a media member about it, and I don't think the teams really released why it is. I was like, was it over usage? Because he was being used quite a bit a couple of weeks ago, so I'm wondering if it was just overworked or whatnot. Again, Tori, I know you said Lawler's like 2 to 3 times a week on the left side of the infield only, but since he got his hit, he's a doubles machine. He has six of his 9 hits are doubles. Now, it's probably a small sample size, but since he got that hit on September 2nd, 26 at bats with a 956 OPS. Like, he needs to play more. And I get why they're not putting him in the field because his defense has not been very good. But you also know who also struggled on defense when he first came up last year? Blaze Alexander. Like, that's just the part of becoming a big leaguer. Like, you just got to be able to calm your nerves because I truly think that's why he's struggling on defense. Is just his defense. He can't stay focused. Like I think that's his biggest struggle is he tries to I think the game's coming a little bit too fast for him. So um I hope they play him more because, dear Lord, I cannot watch Jorge Barosa take at bats anymore. I just can't. Like it, he has a sub 300 OPS. Are you kidding? He's batting 107. There is a open spot on the 40-man roster. Since we designated for assignment Anthony DeSclafani, there's an open spot on the 30-man roster. Either you call to the 40-man Christian Robinson or AJ Vukovic. We cannot afford to have a outfield any position right now to be an automatic 3 outs. We just can't. Now, I get why they probably don't, because they don't want to kind of test these guys right now with at bats, but we've talked about it. Are you playing for the playoffs or are you wanting these guys to grow? Because I'm sorry, Jorge Barosa is just not it. I cannot watch him play. Like, I get he plays some good defense. Do him as a defensive substitution the last 3 innings of the game. That way, maybe he only gets one at bat, but I cannot watch him take 3 at bats a game.
Yeah, I. It's not just been him; it's been happening
So
throughout the season. But this
Jake's
is one of those.
okay.
This,
Like
this is one of those
Jake's
situations where I mean, it's not just us saying it. I know sometimes we get criticized for criticizing Tori a little bit too much, but in this situation, when you have who was coming up, it was McCarthy. Like I broke down the numbers. McCarthy still has a little bit of a higher OPS against lefties than Barosa does, but James McCann was on the bench as well. James McCann is a righty, but even his numbers against righties or against it was a lefty, right? Like it was a lefty pitcher.
yeah.
That's why, yeah. And his OPS is just like 500 points higher than Barosa's is, if not 280. Yeah, 500 points higher than Barosa's, and it was one of those things where it's like we just needed same thing as yesterday. Like we just needed like a good fly out, like a guy to just move these bases, and just going to Barosa, it doesn't make any sense. Again, if you're going to go for anyone, go for Barosa. Go for. I mean, I guess the bench was a little bit limited in this case, but yeah, giving Barosa this many opportunities over and over and over again. I mean, we know who he is at this point. Like I know Jack Summers had made the point where he hasn't had too much time in the major leagues, but he's had enough time to where,
Because he can't hit. Like,
yeah,
we know this. Like, everyone likes to say, oh, look at, like, he has a really high OPS in the minors. He plays in Reno. Of course he has a high
and
OPS.
even then, I mentioned it last week or this last game that we were talking about that he has a high average, but everything else he doesn't walk a lot, he strikes out a lot. His slugging and his OP and his on base really isn't that high when you consider that he's playing in Reno. Um, And no matter what you look at, I mean, we're going to talk about Lawler in a little bit as well. But Lawler, since getting that hit, his OPS is 950, and in the last 2 weeks, Barossa, no matter what metric you look at, last 7 games, 071, last 15 games, 071, last 30 games, 107. Like I don't understand why you.
If people are saying, well, then if you play Lawler, who do you put in left? Blaze. Blaze
Yeah,
literally made the play of the year defensively playing left field.
yeah,
I'm
and
sorry.
that's where I've been stuck at. Like I know that they don't want to give Jordan like too many innings at third base right now just because of his defense. He's been struggling, but this is supposed to be your number one prospect. This is the guy who's probably going to take over third base next season, if not second base. He needs reps at third base. He needs reps at second base. Like he needs to be on the field. Like one of his tools is defense. He's struggled a little bit again. He's had a couple of weird plays that are fixable. It hasn't been something where it's an issue with his arms, an issue with his range, anything. It's literally just been easy fixable mistakes for Blaze and Blaze for Jordan. So Jordan needs to play third. Blaze needs to be in left. There's no reason why they should be giving any more at bats to Jake McCarthy or Barossa going forward.
Or he did play outfield early in the year. Tim
Tim
Tawa.
Tawa.
He's not an like I just want someone that's not an automatic 3 outs every game because then you're handicapping your team. You are not having 27 outs. You're having 24 outs. And that's just asking too much to put on players like Carroll, Perdomo, Moreno. Um, yeah, go look at Mart. I think the whole I don't want to call it a hit piece, but the news from Marte that came out right after the Texas Rangers series, his numbers haven't been he's been plummeting since that. So I think it's still in his head, personally.
Yeah. I mean, that's gonna affect. I mean, these guys are human. Like, if suddenly there's someone saying, "Hey, this guy sucks. He's a bad teammate," and then you have John Magadora on the radio talking like so much trash and tweeting out every chance he gets about how much
It's
he hates
John
you.
Gavadora, but I don't know
No,
if he did
I
that.
think I got it right the first time. I think I got it right the first time. But um, when you have the news stations covering this, you have major media covering this story. It wasn't just in local Arizona sports news. Like, there was some
It was Bob
national
Nightingale.
writers and stories that picked this up and said how much of a bad teammate he was, and to the point where Perdomo had to come out and just be like, hey, like, we love this guy, like, stop saying these things like they're not true. And again, Cattell took personal accountability, said, he probably should have said this or that. Even Tori said, like, he does treat certain guys a little bit differently because he feels like, he gets the best out of them. And again, he is playing injured. He was coming out of his funk a little bit, took the foul ball off his foot. It's going to take more than a couple days for that to recover. Like, I sprained my ankle a few times. Like, when it gets fat, like, it's so uncomfortable to wear cleats. You're just not comfortable at all. Even to wear shoes, it gets really uncomfortable. So, I'm hoping Cattell can come out of this funk, especially for these last 9 games, because we've seen what happens when he becomes an MVP candidate. And as of right now, Corbin is a top 10 MVP candidate. Perdomo should be top two. It should be Otani and Perdomo. They should be the 1 and 2 for MVP voting. Again, the stupid national media is probably going to give it to
Juan
anybody
Soto.
else, Juan Soto, and I don't even know. They're probably going to give it to freaking Lindor again, like that second, third spot. So I'm not counting my breath that Perdomo's going to be number 2. He should be. He is the best, I guess, position player in the league right now, and the stats back it up. His WAR backs it up, and having 3 guys at the top of the lineup who are MVP candidates can truly power this team. Even with some of the pitching woes, some of the bullpen woes, that can power this team to 9 straight games. A 9-game win streak. So far, we haven't seen it. Hopefully, Cattell comes out of it, because in this game, he did a little bit better, 2 for 5, 1 RBI. And Corbin Carroll went 3 for 5. It was a lot better, but in this game, it was Del Castillo who hit the pivotal, pivotal, pivotal. There you go, pivotal home run to tie the game up, and they were able to win by a Jordan Lawler little squib shot. But again, when you have the bases loaded the way they did, all you need
Yeah,
is contact.
well, it helps when the guy at third is literally the fastest man in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
Like you just have to get it past the pitcher, which he did. I tweeted out, it didn't go far, it didn't get hit hard, it don't matter.
yeah, it doesn't matter. And even in this case, I looked at the replay. At least from where I was sitting, it looked a lot closer than it was. But when I saw the replay, I'm like, oh, he was safe by a mile. But also, I know it went underneath the pitcher's glove. Even if he gets that, because he is a righty, he would still have
Mhm.
to make a pretty athletic play to grab it, and then kind of turn his body to be able to be comfortable and throw it home. So it didn't matter if he went through the pitcher's glove or not. Like, I think Carroll would have scored anyway in this case. And credit to Jordan also with his speed, he was able to get to first, so there was no play there. I mean, and it didn't matter in the end, but still, like, just the fact that he was able to make it in time. So even if there was 1 out in the 8th inning, the bases would have stayed loaded even despite that. But credit to everybody in this game. Credit to Lawler. Credit to the bullpen, who was just straight up magnificent. I mean, four innings of no hit baseball, no hits,
Yep.
no walks baseball. So credit to them. But this was overall a really exciting game. It felt like the tide was really turning. D-backs went up by 2 games over 500. It felt like they kind of buried the Giants, and then unfortunately Wednesday came around, and it was probably the most and least exciting game of the season as well, because in this game it was an absolute pitcher's duel. Brandon fought. I know we've talked about second half Zach Gallen, but we need to have the conversation about home Brandon fought, because I know we've had it a little bit, but just these numbers are ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. Like, a lot of people are saying that he gets needs to get sent down to Reno. They need to do this, they need to do that with him. I don't know what's wrong with Brandon Fott. Like I mentioned that, with how good he's been at home, like there's something there that he clearly has that I don't think, this team made a mistake in signing to extension. But Brandon Fott at home has a 3.15 ERA after this game. That would be like top 10 in baseball. 3.15 ERA away from home, then yeah, it's like a 7+ ERA. If you so I'm not a big I know Yankees fans, like, the favorite thing to do is to just be like, oh well, if you take away the bad games, they've actually been very good. And I don't want to do that necessarily, but Brandon Fott did have his yes hitter at home. He allowed 8 runs and didn't get a single out. But if you remove that, his ERA goes all the way down to 2.37. That's a top two, top three Cy Young finisher right there
Yep.
in Brandon Fott. So clearly there is something there. Whatever it is, whatever his struggles are away from home, they should be fixed. So we saw the same thing with um with Ryan Nelson a couple years back, where he just couldn't perform. He couldn't perform on the at home. Weirdly enough, like on the road, he was fantastic. At home, he also like had these drastic splits as well. So whatever it is about Brandon Fott that he just can't pitch away from home, it needs to get resolved. And if he carries this into next season, he's able to get that under control, then look for him to be a top 10 Cy Young finisher. And again, bad pitchers don't pitch 9 innings with one hit baseball. They just don't. If they do, then it's against the Diamondbacks, because that's the only time it ever seems to happen. But I do want to give credit to Justin Verlander in this game, because a lot of it was an offensive offensive disaster clash for the most part. But Justin Verlander has been incredible this last. Again, same thing. Like, it's in the second half. He started off so bad. He had a 6 or 7 ERA to start the season, but since then, right now he has a 3.75 ERA. That would put him second behind Ryan Nelson on this team. 141 innings pitch, 1.34 WHIP. Although I'd be a little wary about that just because of how big San Francisco is. So again, the ERA doesn't tell the whole story. The WHIP is a little bit more indicative of who he's been. But his last 7 games, I don't know. Did you check the stats, Brandon? His last 7 games, because I can list them off for you right now.
What?
Take a
Justin?
guess. Take a guess. Justin Verlander's ERA in his last 7 games.
I want to say 3.5.
1.91 ERA.
AKA he don't get run support.
Yeah. Justin Verlander has 10 losses. He is 3-10. So as much as I want to complain about Brandon Fott not getting run
Wins
support
and
right now,
losses are not a pitching stat, in my
no.
opinion.
So 1.91 ERA. He's 2 and
Sub
1
2.
in 7 games with a sub 2 ERA, and he's going deep. He's averaging about 6 innings in these games. He has 40 strikeouts and a 0.97 WHIP in his last 7 games. And even if you look a little bit further back, in the last 15 games, 3.15 ERA. In 15 games, he's 3-5 with a 3.15 ERA. So again, just no run support. Again, 80 innings, so about 6 innings per game, 75 strikeouts. The WHIP is a little high, 1.29. So this is a guy who has really found something in the second half of the season, and he's been pitching really well. So, as much as I want to talk about how bad they've been, the Diamondbacks were offensively in this game, Justin Verlander does deserve a lot of the credit. In his last 3 games, did you check that stat at least? The last 3 games, his ERA? in his last 3 games. I believe he has 21 innings or so, 0.36. 0.36 ERA.
That's
So
insane. What
he
is that?
is
Like one run?
1 run in 3 games or so, I believe. In this
So
game,
what? Like
he gave up
16,
zero
17 innings?
runs. Yeah, so his stat line for his last 3 games: 7 innings, no runs; 7 innings, 1 run; 6 innings, 0 runs. So what is that? 21 innings, 14, 20, 20 innings, 1 run that he's allowed. So again, credit to Justin Verlander. He has figured something out, whether it's the delivery or whatever it is.
He
His
is a free
velocity
agent,
seems
by the
to
way.
be really good. That's something I was going to mention coming up before I got your thoughts on this game. But Justin Verlander, he is a free agent coming up this season. We do need some starting pitching. He's been pitching pretty well in his division, but all in all, in the end, this game just turned into like just a complete meltdown. Even though Brandon Pfaadt went 9 innings, it should have been a 9 inning complete game shutout, but unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. The Diamondbacks offense was completely shut out by Justin Verlander. But here's the thing: they had guys on base over and over and over again once the bullpen came in. In this game, they ended 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. So it's a running theme this whole season. And there was a tweet by Jack Summers earlier to kind of say, let's see, let me just quote it. So Diamondback stats you won't believe since August 1st. So since they started to win. Batting average for runners in scoring position, 289, fifth best in MLB. Also runners in scoring position in high leverage situations, 312, ninth best. He mostly mentioned it like as a way to throw a little bit of shade at the broadcast because they mostly bring up, the struggles rather than when they've been great. Um, but in this case, I broke it down because we see these stats all the time. Like, yeah, of course, yeah, they have a good batting average, but that's throughout the season or throughout a series. But we've seen multiple times this year and last year as well, where they have one absolute game where they scored 15 runs, and then the next two they'll
Yeah.
struggle to score anything. And so for this case, I did do some research. Um, in the first game, they batted 400 with batters and runners in scoring position. The next 2 games, they combined for 200.
That's
200
dope.
batting average with runners in scoring position in these last 2 games. So again, they ended with a 257 batting average, which is pretty good, pretty respectable. So again, it's you can look at these numbers, but you have to really look at the game logs to understand. You have to watch the games to truly understand where these numbers are coming from because sometimes numbers lie. Like that's just the way it works. Like you can score 100 runs in one game and then not score any runs for the rest of the month, and you'll be like, oh well, they average 10 runs a game for this thing or that. I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but it's just something that you have to really dig into, and this is one of those cases where this team really, really struggled to put runs across the board, and ultimately they lost. One of those things was a very controversial a very controversial move. Sorry, and it's not just going to be us who are going to mention it. It was on the Snakes Territory podcast. It was on the PH Next podcast. Some people have been writing about it. But bringing in Adrian Del Castillo to pinch hit for James McCann in that, I believe, ninth inning, with Corbin
Yes.
Carroll was on third with 1 out. The issue here, McCann has a 800 OPS against righties. Del Castillo has 700 OPS against righties. Del Castillo also strikes out 40% of the time this season, just in general. McCann has a much lower strikeout rate. He's also a veteran. With 1 out, Torrey's explanation was that he wanted to get the ball up in the air, despite the fact that James McCann had hit 2 warning track shots earlier in this game.
Yes! Like that's what drove me nuts. I'm like, he already done it. Like,
Okay, so
oh,
I'll get to you right now, but I'll give my thoughts and after yours. But overall in this game, there was a lot of blame to go around. Just the offense was completely dead, but I think this decision was pivotal. But I want to get your thoughts on this, on Brandon Pfaadt, on Justin Verlander, the offense disaster class, and also the substitution of James McCann.
Brandon Fott. It's been a roller coaster with him this year. Like he was probably a top 5 pitcher in the month of April. Like he was just could not be stopped. Like he was dominant from May till about now. Not very good. Road starts are just like looking at those splits for home and away. I'm always like, what am I looking at? Like literally, most like 90. I haven't done the math, but it's probably like 80 to 85% of his home runs given up are on the road. He pitches so well at Chase Field. We almost saw a Greg Maddux, 9 innings, under 100 pitches. I really like. So I was at work during the game and I kept watching. I'm like 0-0. Like it. So if you include the ending to Tuesday's game and this game, Giants went hitless for 11 consecutive innings. Like that's impressive. And then yeah, like Justin Verlander, yeah, like I go back and forth as to who's the best starting pitcher of this generation. Like you could say Max Scherzer, you could say Clayton Kershaw, who will be retiring at the end of the year. Is it Justin Verlander? Like it it's a good discussion to have because I don't think there's a clear answer. I think it is up to each individual person. Justin Verlander, first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care that he pitched for Houston during that time. I really don't, because he's a pitcher, so that didn't affect him whatsoever. Um, so I just Verlander is just so damn good. It's frustrating. Like Fott has literally the best out of his entire career, and it gets wasted because Tory has to Tory. Like I would say I don't want to say I'm a Tory supporter, but a lot of his decisions I get. I understand. It doesn't mean I like them. It just means I kind of know what he's thinking in that moment. This decision with ADC was stupid. Was just straight up moronic. It did not make sense. Because he said, "Oh, ADC's been playing pretty well lately." No, he hasn't. Okay, he had a homer on Tuesday. That was his only highlight for the last week and a half. He literally had a game where he had 4 strikeouts within the last week. Like Tori, like buddy, that was not the move. Like that was not the move. Um, but again, it wasn't just ADC that like nobody seemed in extras to be able to hit the ball out of the infield. That's all you need to do with a runner on third with less than 2 outs. Just get it out of the infield. But according to the broadcast, what they were saying is that Ryan Walker, the guy that was pitching for the Giants, his release is harder to pick up for right-handed hitters. And I thought that's what Toy was gonna somewhat say as to why he went with ADC. Nah, he just straight up like basically was he's been playing really well and he lifts the ball. I'm like, how can you lift the ball when you strike out 40% of the time?
Yeah, he basically said what he always does. He liked him in that situation.
It was basically another way to phrase I like the matchup.
Yeah,
He
and I mean,
like
and it was something that I broke down, like I said, in our group chat, where I was just like, "There's nothing that shows ADC should have been in this situation. If it was no outs, then I can understand that because he does strike out a lot, but he
if he would have put
could
the
get the
ball
ball
in
near."
play and they don't score, I'm fine with that. Like say he hits a fly ball but it's not deep enough. I'm okay with that because you're doing what you're supposed to. It's the fact, and it wasn't a swing and strikeout. It was strikeout looking. Like you cannot be struck out looking in that situation.
Yeah, and also bases were loaded. There was 1 out. You're if you put the ball in play, especially with 1 out, if you put the ball in play again, Corbin Carroll showed what he could do on Tuesday if he put the ball in play. They just put in like an infield single where a freaking bunt probably could have brought him home as well. Um, but bringing ADC in the
A
situation
squeeze
with the
play.
bases
You
loaded, it's squeeze
you
play. just there's so much that went wrong in this game. Like again, bases loaded, one out. If you want to bring in ADC, you bring him out when there's zero outs. Because if he strikes out, you have two more chances, and you
This
can
wasn't
do
something
natural
that
fly
just
ball.
happened in the ninth either. This happened in the 10th too. We had a
Yeah,
runner on third with less than 2 outs. Oh my god, Dro. Like
yeah,
that
it's crazy.
stuff right there. Like
I mean, if you look at this in this situation as well, it's because ADC called down on strikes, called out on strikes, not even just going down swinging. So that was 2 outs. Alec Thomas, he did hit he did hit a decent,
fly ball.
a decent. Oh, it wasn't a fly ball. I think it was a ground out um, to Devers. But again, that's kind of what Alec is going to do. I think if he was in this situation, he probably would have. He with zero outs, and let's say he comes in with two, with one out, that probably wins the game as well. But instead, with one out because you bunted over with Tim Tawa, you gave up a free out, it just put this game, kind of out of reach. And at that point, James McCann, the only way he's going to win that game is if he gets a hit. There's no other way to, or James McCann, Alec Thomas. Alec Thomas, the only way he's going to get a hit or win the game is if he gets a hit instead of putting the ball in play. And it's just absolutely mind-boggling decision of Tor to put an ADC. Just there's no numbers that back it up at all. No numbers to back up this decision. No numbers to back up the Barossa decision the game before. There's nothing there that you can say, okay, I understand this completely. He said, I want to get the ball in the air. James McCann hit two 380-foot fly balls earlier in this game. He's the only guy who was making real solid contact.
Just say it was a gut. Like just say it was a gut feel. Like because that's really what these two were. Is they were gut feelings, and they just didn't work out. I just in
Yeah,
where this
and
team is
I've
right
seen people
now.
always say like, obviously, like, oh, if it worked out, then he would have been seen as a genius. Like, no, he wouldn't. I didn't think it was the right move in the first place. And people say like, oh, it's hindsight, hindsight. But putting in a guy with the 40% strikeout rate in this situation is never the right move. If ADC got it, it would be the equivalent of from when Ryan Nelson got that double or whatever when he ended up batting because they lost the DH. That was Ryan Nelson coming through in the clutch. That was Ryan Nelson doing his job.
Which we lost the DH in this game too.
Yeah, we also lost the DH in this game. Just this is what the seventh or eighth time this season that they've lost the DH because of these moves. Again, I think it's just Tory, a lot of Toryisms, but this is one of those situations where it's like sometimes you just gotta let the veteran hit. James McCann knows what to do in these situations. The guy couldn't throw strikes.
He
Walker
took
couldn't
the
throw a freaking
bat.
strike.
He took the bat out of his hand, and I hate when that happens.
He
Like
walked Gabby. He hit Blaze, who's a right-handed hitter. This guy was out of control, and you bring in a lefty who's going to swing at everything, and he just strikes out on 5 pitches. And then at that point, it's like you're behind the eight ball. It's just again, you need to get a hit. Couldn't get a hit. There's just a lot of issues in this game, and then Curtis came in. He wasn't great, but also there was just a lot of stuff that went wrong in this.
also
There's a
everyone's
pass ball.
saying that they need to get rid of Curtis. Go look at his stuff outside of this one outing. He's been really, really good for this team. So
It was honestly just like bad luck. I mean, this was the Diamondbacks deserve for not getting those runs in the 10th either
yep,
because
yep.
uh, there was a pass ball by Gabby, so Chapman moved to third. So there's really at that point it was just the run was almost going to score no matter what. But Eldridge walked, and then there was a single on the line drive, so that one did allow the runs. But then
Yeah, that
there's
single was like that pitch was at good foot below the zone. Like
yeah,
in
it was nowhere near. I mean, that thing was at the ground,
yeah,
like that.
like there's nothing you can do
That's
on
something you
that
can do.
as a
He
pitcher.
made a good pitch. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because Encarnacion just I don't know how he was able to get that. He just extended. He did a Vlad Senior type of move on that one,
Just like threw his bat out there.
and then Patrick Bailey hit that pop up that was just perfectly placed in no man's land, and
Yeah.
then that just allowed some more runs to score. And then yeah, this game just got out of hand at that point. And yeah, I'm not going to blame Curtis on this. It was just an unfortunate situation, just kind of a lot of BABIP issues in this inning, and then they scored 5 runs, and then the D-backs again weren't able to do much. They had a couple guys on in the 11th, but weren't really able to catch it in. And then they lost 5-1. So frustrating is how I felt this game. But again, Torrey wasn't the only reason why this team lost. The main stars didn't come into the clutch. Ketel Marte 0 for 5, Perdomo 1 for 5. A lot of these guys just weren't performing the way they should have, and unfortunately they lost. And then the Mets won. Then the Mets win today again. Just put them
Giants lost
behind.
today, though. Giants did lose tonight.
Yeah,
So
so they at least have the monkey that is the Giants off of their backs for the most part, but Cincinnati's right behind them. But now they sit at 2 games behind the New York Mets with 9 games to go. Both of them have 6 games in division. Do you have the graphic for the if go must go or whatever it's called? So the New York Mets have 79 wins. The Diamondbacks have 77. There's a lot of math to go here, but I think realistically, I honestly think the Mets would probably go like 5-4, if not 4-5, and that would put a lot of pressure on the Diamondbacks to go. If the Mets go 5-4, the Diamondbacks need to go 7-2. If they go 4-5, the Diamondbacks need to go 6-3. So truly not a lot of wiggle room. But I want to get your thoughts on this. Like, where do you see the Mets? At least with this graphic, where do you see the Mets ending up? Where do you see the Diamondbacks ending up? Do you think there will be a tie? Do you think one of them was going to just win outright?
well, luckily for us, if there's a tie, we have the tiebreaker. Well, as of now, I don't know. Depending on how we do against the Dodgers and Padres and how they do against the Nationals and Marlins, that could potentially change. Because right now in the West, we're 25-21. Mets in the East are 23-23. So we do have that divisional record tiebreaker as of now, which is the next tiebreak because we split the season series. We went 3-3. So the next
Hmm.
tiebreaker is the record within your division.
Yeah.
So
So
if we
I'm glad you.
tie there, then I believe it goes to what our record is in the East and what theirs is in the West.
Yeah. So the what I wanted to bring up is the fact there's a lot of confusion with this. If there's any sort of play at the tiebreaker, the first tiebreaker, the Diamondbacks win no matter what. Just because of the amount of games that are left in general, the amount of games in division, and the fact that the Diamondbacks are 25 and 21 in division. The Mets are 23 and 23. So both of them have 6 games. So let's just say, for example, both of them go 500. So, but they both win 3-3.
Yep.
Diamondbacks would be 28 and 24. Mets 26 and 26. So again, D-backs take that, and that would leave the last 3 games. And there's no way you can tie for that just because of the Diamondbacks win 2. There would be 1 game above the Mets to win the wild card. So if basically all this to say, if there's any sort of tie, the Diamondbacks win no matter what. If there isn't, the Diamondbacks are out unless they win outright. At least against the
So
Mets.
what's interesting is we're 2 games back in the wild card, but they're 2 games back in terms of divisional record compared to us. So I thought that was interesting. But in terms of the Met, like I think we could go 6-3, which to me is winning the final 3 series. If they can go ahead and take 2 or 3 over the last 3, that puts us at 6-3. That gives us 83 wins, which then would be the Mets would have to go 4-5. If they do anything worse, then we're fine. But if they go 5-4, then we miss it by a game. So really thinking about that, like I'm really banking on the Cubs sweeping them. If we can get the Cubs to sweep them, then we can afford like they can afford to win those other 2 series, and we would make it through.
Yeah, it's unfortunately one of those things where we just have to rely on other teams doing their jobs. In this case, Padres weren't just not able to get the job done in this case, and So now the Diamondbacks are 2 games behind. And this is why I mentioned that this is probably the most pessimistic that I've truly been for this team's playoff host because Diamondbacks face off against the Phillies coming up. I will say they do have the advantage pitching wise, starting pitching wise. What scares me is the Diamondbacks bullpen and the Phillies offense. The Phillies offense has been just on fire recently. So the first game, it's Taiwan Walker, 4.17 ERA against Ryan Nelson, 3.34 ERA. So I trust Nelson to be able to get through this Phillies lineup. I don't know about the bullpen. I don't know how I feel about that. Second game, Gallon versus Nola. Nola with the 6.44 ERA.
I didn't
Nola has just been
realize
terrible.
I didn't realize his ERA was that bad.
He's been terrible. Like he's just been downright bad. Like we talk about our guys being bad. No, Nola has been literally the worst pitcher in all of baseball this season. Zach Young still on his hot streak, 4.73 ERA. Again, I trust the Diamondbacks offense and their pitching to get through these 2 games. What scares me again, the bullpen against this Phillies offense. And the last game, I think, is the one real loss. Suarez with the 2.84 ERA against Erod 5.12 ERA. So I can see them taking 2 out of 3 games. Not easily, but I can see them taking 2 out of 3 games. Just depends on what starting pitching does and what the bullpen does. But I do, despite the issues that they had in these last couple of games, I do still trust this offense. Cattell needs to show up. This is now on him because Corbin has been pretty damn good. Perdomo has been good. Most of these guys are starting to
Gabby.
come around. Gabby has been excellent. So most of these guys have been able to come around. But when you have your perennial MVP candidate just struggling the way he has, I mean, he's batting like 170 in his last like 15 games or 20 games. He has truly been just absolutely bad. So hopefully, the Phillies reignite some sort of fire, and Martin is able to come through and really put this team on his back and power them to either a series win or a sweep of the Phillies. But the reason why, again, I was not feeling the best about it is because the Mets are playing the Nationals. The Nationals are just not good. They're a bad team. They're probably going to be close to about 100 losses this season. They're playing basically for the draft at this point. So the Mets have a pretty easy schedule coming up, and then after that, it's the Mets are playing. Um, I believe it was
Cubs.
the
They
Cubs.
play the
So
Cubs.
that's truly their only real opponent. And after that, the Diamondbacks play the Dodgers because of course they do. And then the Mets finish up against the Marlins. So Marlins aren't terrible. They are going to be close to 500, but again, I think strength of schedule and everything just kind of shows that the Diamondbacks are going to be in a really, really precarious situation where going 6-3 against these teams is not going to be easy at all. And the Mets come, the final weekend could just wrap this up. But how do you feel about this series? Do you feel like the Diamondbacks are going to do a lot better than we might think so? Do you think they're going to be able to take whether it's the series or the sweep of the Phillies?
I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna take the first 2 games, then be like, let's go for the sweep, and they're gonna do what they've done all year and not be able to sweep. I think that's truly what's gonna happen. Because I think we, like you said, we have the advantage in the pitching matchups in games 1 and 2 for sure. Um, but it's really like if this team wants to make the playoffs, we need MVP Marte. We really like if we keep getting this 200 batting Ketel Marte this last week and a half, I don't think we make it in because I think there's going to be a couple, like 1 or 2 games that we're going to end up losing because he goes 0 for 3 or 0 for 4. So I think it is all on his shoulder. I've seen just a lot of the fan base turn against him. And for everyone thinking that they're going to trade him this offseason, they named a field after him in the community. There's no way they're trading him now. No way. I just like that wouldn't make sense to me. Like why you would name a field after a current player and then trade him 3 months later. So I just don't think it's gonna happen. I just like you said, it looked like he was starting to come around, and then he had that foot contusion. So I'm hoping that that's healed because it's been almost a week at this point since he suffered that injury. So I'm hoping with the off day today that he'll be uh, hopefully up to almost full strength for this series. Um, if they lose this series, they literally would have to win out. They literally would have to win out, and I don't against divisional opponents. That's really really tough to do, and with our bullpen and our situational hitting, I wouldn't feel great about
Yeah, and honestly, for me, I do want to see Cattell come out of something. I want to see Jordan Lawler. There's 9 games left in the season. This is the time you put him in. Like, you got to see what he is. What under pressure, just in general, and also the guy's hitting 950. Do you have the numbers on here? Or were they on the group chat for Jordan Lawler's numbers?
it.
Since
Yeah. So
since the
since he got
second,
his hit, yeah, since he got his hit, got the monkey off his bat, he's 9 for 26, 6 doubles, 3 singles, 5 RBI, 5 runs scored with a slug of 577. Like the fact that 6 of his 9 hits are doubles means he's barreling up the baseball, which is what we were not seeing before. And he's had a lot. Like, yeah, he's still striking out a bit, but he's he's putting together good at bats though. It's not just like three breaking balls out of the zone and he's swinging at all of them. So
yeah,
I
I
think
mean a
there's no
950 OPS.
reason to not like. I get his defense. Put him at DH. Like put him at D. I don't understand why he at this point with him hitting pretty well. I don't understand why you do not get him at bats every day.
Yeah, especially when you're putting Barossa and Jake, all the time. So
Jake's been hitting. He's just not slugging.
yeah, he's not the best either, but yeah, like he's just not really slugging the way Jordan is,
He's
and
better than Barossa, but that's not
yeah,
saying much.
yeah, and also he's not really stealing bases the way Lawler is
Yeah.
as well. He's not the same threat on the bases as Lawler is. Like, any sort of if he's on first, any sort of hit through the gap, he's scoring automatically. So he needs to play, and especially now there's 9 games left. If you want to see who he is at this point, you gotta play him. You don't have a third base for next season. This is the time to figure out who's going to be your third baseman. Is it going to be Blaze, who, as great as Blaze has been, again, we've
Oh, with
seen
the
who Blaze
power.
is. He is a 230, 750 OPS guy. That's who he's been with all the
Which is
opportunities that they've given
okay.
him.
It's
Yeah, he's
okay.
not terrible. Again, he's a Chris Taylor type. He's a guy who could be getting everyday at bats, just not your third baseman, not your everyday third baseman, not your everyday shortstop, not your everyday second baseman, not your everyday outfielder. He is a platoon guy. He should kind of always stay a platoon guy. Again, that's not a knock on him. Again, Chris Taylor has made a great career out of being a platoon guy, and he's had great moments in the postseason as well. So I think for next season it probably should be Jordan Lawler at third and Blaze be the you know be the shoot, I forgot the name, the
Super
utility guy,
utility.
super utility. And he's shown that he has the ability to play basically all over the field. He's athletic. Again, he is 3 to almost 4 years older than Jordan Lawler is. So you're putting your trust in a guy who has shown throughout his major league career to be a 750 OPS guy in his mid to late 20s over a young prospect like Jordan Lawler. So, um, again, yeah, I just want to see him. I want to get any final thoughts do you have on the series as a whole, or on the upcoming series, or just feelings in general?
I would love it if this weekend we see Perdomo reach 2020 and then we see Carroll reach 30-30-30. I think that would be. I mean, if they want to do it on Saturday when I'm there, that would be awesome. But if they want to do it Friday, I'm completely okay with that. Thanks for stopping by. We always appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah. So I'm going on Friday. So if Corbin hit three
If they
triples,
want to do it for you, I'm
if you
fine with
want to do it
that
for
too.
me, like I'll take it. Like I'll take whatever I can get. Um, but it should be a really exciting series in general. Hopefully, it should be packing down the house. We look for tickets for, I believe, Friday and even Saturday, and use it as well. It seems to be maybe not a sellout, but a close to a sellout this next 3 games, and I'll see how the Dodgers are looking. I do have tickets for Tuesday, but
Yeah,
with
I have Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah,
so I'll see how I feel about going into that madhouse.
it
But
depends on how this weekend goes.
yeah, if
Like
this weekend
what?
if they sweep, then I'm gonna be going crazy on Tuesday, just being like, we're back. We're so Barack, I guess. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming in. Dank, Scott, Justin, Red Sox Nation,
Corbin
who was
Barrels was
Barrels,
watching. He just wasn't in the chat.
and then Disruptive as well. So I want to thank everybody who's coming into the chat. We're gonna hopefully see you guys on Sunday for a series win, if not the S word, when they face up against the Phillies, and hopefully they're able to keep their playoff hopes alive. Just depending on how things go with the Mets and the Reds. So until then, we'll see you guys next time, and just keep hope. Bye.
Under the lights, the game goes down. Desert heat, but we own this town. Brennan gave on the call with Josh in the back, bringing it on.